Good morning. Our hand today is going to be Queen Jack of Diamonds, full ring. We've got two limps, and then it's to me and I ISO. These players, this guy's playing 77% of hands. He could have anything, basically 100% of hands, minus some offsuits. Not even going to look at him because he's going to be folding. But he's playing a lot of hands, and he seems to be winning for some reason. This guy's playing 31-14. I've got over 160 hands on him. His VPIP looks like he likes to play hands in position. We are mid position at 31% with pre-flop raise at 20%. He doesn't really limp, so he's limping behind, which is, I'm going to say, a little unusual. Limp with previous limpers, I've got 1 out of 7. And that's 1 out of 2 from mid position. What kind of range does that? That's going to be tough to say. We noticed that he 3-bets by position, so he's not necessarily 3-betting as much, which maybe then he's not necessarily going to raise a whole lot. So I kind of look at a range, something like this, that's 12%, and this could be a little too narrow. I did scale our good hands. Because when we looked at some of his notes here, we do have a limp and call to raise with ace king off. So instead of isolating with it, he just limp and called. We do have 4-bet range, kings with king 2, 3-bet range, a7. Those have got to be bluffs. So I know he's capable of raising in the spot, but I'm going to give some small percent chance that he's actually going to be limping. Of course, limping with queens, kings, aces, and then more often raising with those hands, but also including like ace king and ace queen. So maybe he's going to be limping with hands like these. This is getting up to about 15%. Maybe he wants to play those. Maybe it's too narrow. It's just hard to say when you get a limp like this. Regardless, it's to me and I isolate. We look at players behind us. All of them seem to be fairly tight. If I limp, there's a chance that we could get 1 or 2 of them to limp behind as well. I don't really want to take this hand multi-way. I think I'd rather like to play it heads up in position. So I think when we look at our ISO, we've got our always an optional. I think we're going to be always doing this with our optional range, like expanding that wide range, try to get heads up against a guy that's playing a huge number of hands. We're still going to be stronger on average against that range. So we isolate the 5 big blinds. The button calls, the real loose guy folds, and then this guy calls. So the button, when he calls, he's playing 15-3. We've got just a little bit of information on him. We've got a 3-bet and 4-bet range of queens plus. So we know he's capable of raising here. Queens plus, I'm going to give him ace king, maybe ace queen as well. He's played 6%, raised 6%. And this is 10 out of 172. So he's either gotten real lucky with those big pocket pairs, or he actually has a decent 3-betting range. I'm giving him pocket pairs, giving him some suited, some broadways, and that's about it. This is just right at 10%, and I think that's pretty fair. Maybe, I don't know, sometimes a player like this will call with this ace-x suited. Given how tight he is, probably not. So then we come back to the other guy and say, would he call? Yeah, we already know he'd call. I think this is a range that's just suitable. So even if his opening range or his limping range is wider than this, I think this is probably a suitable calling range in this spot. So we see a flop, a 10-7-3, which we flop flush. We're going for value. That's definitely what we're going to go for. So there's no messing around here. We're going to go bet our flush for value. Try to get paid. I think we're including, our nut flush draw and possibly our second nut flush draw as, semi bluffing range. It's going to be difficult with open ender, but I think we still bet an open ender, hoping to hit it. So that gives us 14. I think our set, I do think we probably bet our set for a little bit of value. So we're at 12 and 14, which means we probably need a little bit more. So maybe one of these pocket pairs, 8s and 9s. You do have some equity, kind of like a backdoor straight draw. If we get folds with those hands, I think I'm okay with it. But I think we kind of go about 36%. That's not super wide. And we're facing two other players. And this is going to be a board that's going to be hard to kind of get both to fold. It heads up, I think we can expand our range for betting, but against two players, probably not. Phone checks we bet. We bet half pot. That's probably appropriate. I think it's probably half pot, maybe a third pot. I don't think it's necessarily gonna change. I think it's if we ran this GTO, and it's hard to run three way, but I bet GTO would kind of have a split between those three sizes, because I don't really see like the ace of diamonds or king of diamonds folding 1/3 or folding less if we bet 1/3 versus if we bet 2/3. They're probably calling it the same frequency. Likewise, the 10x, I bet they call it the same frequency. 8/9's probably calling it the same frequency. I think those are all hands that we're trying to get some value from. So we bet half pot. They both call, which is unusual here. So I'm gonna give him this guy. I'm gonna say he's calling with flushes. He's calling with open ender. Top pair plus, I think is what he calls. I think he's the tighter of the two. His fold to C bet's really high at 70 to 75%. This guy, not so much. The fold to C bet. Let's check our numbers. 2 out of 7 when he's in position, 0 out of 4 when he's out of position. So for this player, same thing. We're gonna give him kind of like a flush draw, maybe second nut. Would we include like overall weak draw? Maybe. It's definitely looser. We are going to give him the straight draws as well. 52%. That's probably good. I'm going to go back to this guy. Would he call with like a weak with the jacks? Maybe. But we have the jacks blocked, so I think we're okay. All right, so the pot's 43. We're looking at effective stack size of about twice that amount. 8 of spades gets there. Check to us, we should be betting again. We get two people that call. I don't think we should be worried about ace X at this point. I think worst case scenario, we bet he calls and he folds, puts us out of position. We're still going to have to fire a bet on the river. I think we're still going to have to fire a bet on the river, because if we check and he bets, we're going to be forced to call. And now it would look like, I don't think he would call. Well, I was going to say, would he just call with the ace X? Yeah, probably. So I think we're going for value again with our flush. Sets and overpair, I think, are a little I think if they're part of the nut flush, we do make that play. At least for the overpair. I think now you have the 8 that connects. I think we give up on our straight. Maybe the second nut. Do we do all of our diamonds? Yeah, I still think there's hands that are going to be calling. I still think flush draws are going to be calling here. So I kind of think that's why we would continue leading. I bet half pot again. Again, that's probably okay bet size. We're going to be forced to call no matter what on the river. And we get this guy raises, and I think that's a good size. Because I don't really think ace jack's going to be raising in this part, and I really don't think king jack, king queen's going to be raising in this point at this part. Would a set raise? Maybe. Maybe he does it as part of the nut flush draw. That could work. Yeah, but he doesn't have those in his range. Like ace 10, didn't put those in his range. Yeah, maybe that's all that I could see here. I don't think the nut flush is raising this. Villain 7 folds. And I think we're committed. I think we're committed with the flush. We need 27% equity to call. I think we probably get rid of the set. Maybe not all sets, but sevens possibly. Yeah. Because if we throw in sets for him and flushes, we're going to have to connect. We've got one more card to come. Set of 8s with the 8 of diamond. Could be. Like set of 8s with the 8 of diamond, I think could be a call here. I think some of our other sets could just be a fold. And then our flushes, I think that's probably what we call. I do. King of Hearts comes out, and we get to see the river. We run it twice, so he did have sevens. He had the set. So, if we look at all of his cards here, when he makes his play, he is heavy on sets, 3s, 7s, and 10s. I don't necessarily agree with the play. I think it could have been a little bit better on his, raising on the flop. He's getting scared. He didn't give me credit for the diamonds. We got a stack. And the point of this is partially to for our hand rating. So we did get that. I mean, we had sevens in his range. But it's also partially to assess our play to see if we think we played it okay. One, I think we played it okay. I mean, we obviously won. But are we too generous in giving him the sets? Are most people raising those? I don't think most people are raising those. I think if anything, we're going to see the raise happening on the flop. And then when we call, possibly, and if we check to them, then they're probably going to check behind. But that would be a situation where we bet they raise. I think with our hand, we go ahead and re-raise at that point, because I think your ace X, some of your nut flush draws are going to be calling. I think your trips are going to be calling. Maybe even the two pair. Some people have a hard time folding two pair, and definitely some people have a hard time folding like aces or kings in this spot. So I think overall, I'm happy with how we played it. Three ways tough. You can't run GTO with a three-way pot, so not sure how my overall play rates against GTO play, but I do think I played it okay. I don't think he made the right play. I don't really like his raise on the turn. I've bet twice now. I think his opportunity was on the flop. Once he chose not to raise on the flop, then I think you're left just calling behind on the turn, and then on the river, if I check to him, that's when he could bet. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another one.